Thank you, Mark. Well, since 1907, Manchester City and Chelsea have been locking horns. A century-long rivalry with an intensity that's ebbed and flowed with the passing of time. But tonight, there's a new twist to the familiar, with the stakes higher for this 167th meeting than ever before. The epithet of Kings of Europe awaits, the chance for both to further augment their history, which has become ever more illustrious over the recent past. For Manchester City, this is the biggest night of the lot, the culmination of a journey that began more than 20 years ago, its progress hastened by Abu Dhabi investment. From the catalyst of that playoff final, of Forlock and Dickoff and Weaver, all roads have led to Porto. And if City have taken a slightly more circuitous route than they'd like, then inspirational Catalan navigation has led them here via some memorable sights and achievements. They've earned their chance after a near faultless European campaign that saw its climax with balletic majesty in the unseasonal snow that did little to cool their tempestuous Parisian opponents. This is the evening when the dreams could come to fruition, the night that provides their shot at glory. But if these are uncharted waters for City, then Chelsea have sailed this way before. Over the last 14 years, only Bayern Munich and Real Madrid have reached more Champions League finals than the Blues, who've been on both sides of the most narrow of dividing lines between success and failure. The heartbreaking slip of their captain in the early hours of the morning amidst a Moscow monsoon, the cathartic collective redemption of Petr Cech's save from Bastian Schweinsteiger, and Didier Drogba's ice-cold finish. Bayern beaten in their own backyard, odds defied, heroes made. But which of tonight's protagonists will be forever associated with the Dragao, their names etched in history? This, the Castless, Manchester City, Ederson in goal, Walker, Diaz, Stones and Zinchenko, Gundogan anchoring the midfield, could well be De Bruyne and Foden either side of him, Mahrez and Sterling wide, and Bernardo Silva up front. Chelsea, Mendy in goal, Azpilicueta, Thiago Silva and Rudiger, James, Jorginho, Conte and Chilwell, Mount and Havertz and Werner. And before kick-off, players from both sides take the knee. The stakes are high, but the reminder that there is no room for racism. So, May the 29th, 2021, a night that will go down in folklore, but whose? An extraordinary season that's yielded a thrilling climax for both of these clubs from such inauspicious beginnings. For one, a change of tack; for the other, a change at the helm. Their stories reworked over the last few months and intertwined in part, but there's one final chapter yet to be written, and there can only be one happy ending. This is Manchester City against Chelsea to win the 2021 Champions League. And it's City on the front foot from the very off, turning the ball inside the Chelsea penalty area, and those in dark blue able to hammer the ball away, but Foden can pick it up in the midfield and work it to his left-hand side for Raheem Sterling, and Sterling will go back for Zinchenko. Zinchenko turning it forward towards Kevin De Bruyne. Foden very quickly involved Manchester City with all the early possession. Alongside me, Andy Townsend, and also Stuart Pearce. Gentlemen, a very good evening to you. Stuart, what are your initial thoughts of the way that Manchester City are lining things up tonight?
Well, as they've done already, they look to impose their style of play on the match from the offset. Straight away that ball's gone into Chelsea's half and City have camped in on there. It'll be no doubt in my mind, certainly why the game's a level, why the goals are level at the time, that City are going to dominate possession and Chelsea are going to be feeding off scraps and counters, and I think that's going to be the way the game's going to pan out, certainly in these early stages.
Well, the way that City have lined up, Gundogan is at the base of the midfield trio as we expected. Bernardo Silva to his right, Foden to his left, but he will be given the licence to push forward in support of De Bruyne, who is the man that is leading the line. But we have seen City play 4-4-2 with two false nines in the past, and it could well be that Foden is up there, not too far away from De Bruyne, to try and replicate that, Andy.
Yeah, look, they're so fluid, as we spoke earlier. They can all have a little spell where they can play up there. Don't expect De Bruyne just to stand there and have others running around him. He'll also be on the move. That's what makes it particularly difficult for Chelsea when you're trying to detail people to mark and to stay tight with people. They just interchange positions and they do it so cleverly.
Here's Timo Werner on the right hand side for Chelsea in all dark blue with their white socks, and they're kicking from left to right as we look at it. Ball played in, hits Stones. and goes out of play for a throw, which is going to be taken on the Chelsea right-hand side. Now, the other piece of business, really, in terms of the formations, is the makeup of the right side of Chelsea's defence. It is Azpilicueta at centre-half and James at right wing-back, as we anticipated. Ball goes back for Mendy. The first season he has had in Chelsea colours, conceding only 3 in his 11 Champions League games. Ball played down towards James on the right-hand touchline. Jorginho's been fouled by Bernardo Silva, and it's a free kick which will be taken by Chelsea inside their own half with 3 minutes in to the 2021 Champions League final. You're with TalkSport, and it is 0-0.
Yeah, we just had a turnover of possession earlier there. Chelsea got the ball forward, and there's situations, Werner and Stones in enough space to potentially cause a problem if City don't get it right, and Chelsea will be hoping to recreate that scenario.
N'Golo Kanté heavily involved here. They managed to get Werner in round the back of Zinchenko, pulled back to Havertz inside the penalty area. It's touched a little bit heavy. There's a goal in the cross, just flicked up off Ruben Dias's foot, but it was easily claimed by Edison at his near post. A comfortable save, but the first real injection of pace inside the penalty area from Kai Havertz.
Yep, and again, it all started with that run from Timo Werner, where he spins from a central position into the channels. That's the way Chelsea are going to get out. They'll utilise that as much as they can. It's then getting people in and around to support him. It was a reasonable cutback from Timo Werner there that provided just a little glimmer for a moment for Chelsea. So City, of course, will have to be aware of that, but I'm sure they'll have spoke a lot about that. They know that when they lose the ball without that designated sitting midfielder this evening, they might be a bit vulnerable. So really important tonight that Walker, that Dias, John Stones in particular, those defenders in the team are really switched on when that ball changes hands.
And Stones has possession now. He's 20 yards outside his own penalty area. 4.5 minutes gone. With TalkSport, those are the thoughts of Andy Townsend alongside Stuart Pearce and myself, Jim Proudfoot, watching on from our monitors in London, and Mark Saggers in the chair, talking you through all the action. The only station to have brought you the Champions League final and the Championship playoff final today. You with TalkSport. Brentford have already had a day of glory. Will it be more West London superiority or will Manchester City be able to lift this trophy for the first time? Their only previous European success coming against the Polish side, Górnik Zabrze, back in 1970 in the Cup Winners' Cup final, and then the following season as holders they were beaten by Chelsea at the semi-final stage, which is the only previous meeting between these two clubs on the European stage. It is, of course, the third in 7 weeks, though, all told. Zinchenko giving it away in the midfield. Ben Chilwell was preferred to Alonso on the left for Chelsea today, making his way forward. And he was tracked every step of the way by Bernardo Silva, who slid in. Ball already out of play for a Manchester City throw by the time the contact was made. And City have taken it quickly, working it from Stones to Dias. What a season John Stones has had. Played 34 games for City this season, and they have won 30 of them. Now down towards Walker. Put under pressure by Mason Mount. Walker able to find Bernardo Silva, and he's continued his run forward as well. Thiago Silva, though, is watching him, and Walker's judge just to have given him a little shove to the ground. And it's a free kick which will be taken by Chelsea on the left-hand touchline. 6 minutes gone on TalkSport. It's 0-0.
Yeah, it looked very, very poor decision there by the looks of things. Thiago went down very cheaply. Walker putting him under a touch of pressure, and I've seen absolutely nothing wrong with that. Again, looking at the replay, just making a point there. The situation with Chelsea's back five, it means that their wing backs can just lock on to the wide players in Mahrez and Sterling and not worrying about offering too much cover. And quite often with City, as a fullback in a back four, you've got to get tight, but also you've got to worry about locking on to your centre halves as well to offer cover where City might exploit it. In a five, you don't have to do that. One job.
So Zinchenko has possession for Manchester City, and the early possession is about 2/3, 1/3 in Manchester City favour, which is probably broadly in keeping with what many people would have anticipated it being. Still waiting for the first shot. It is 0-0. Plenty of shadow boxing going on at the moment, but the game being played at a decent tempo in the Portuguese sunshine, the northern outskirts of Porto. There's Edison pinging a long left-footed ball forward over the top. He's got Sterling in goal side of Reece James, who's come back, and then Mendy watched him go wide, in the end got a right hand to it to tip it away for a corner. The first time that Manchester City have looked long, and it was very nearly the perfect ball.
Yeah, and how many times we've seen Ederson do this when he drills a 60-70 yard pass. Raheem Sterling makes an arcing, bending run off the touchline inside Reece James, and if his first touch is better, he is one-on-one with Mendy and he could probably score, Stu.
Andy, I was just saying about as a fullback or wing-back, you've got one job to deal with, the wide player, and that's exactly what he should have done. Great run by Sterling, though.
They gone 0-0, first corner, Foden swinging it in. The referee took exception to a push by Zinchenko as two sides were jockeying for position. Thiago Silva ended up on the deck. And there is a free kick which will be taken by Chelsea inside the 6-yard box. 0-0 the score.
Yeah, in this scenario, in these matchups, it's James against Sterling, it's Chilwell against Mahrez, and you've just got to deal with your wide man. And I've got to say, it was a fantastic run by Sterling. Just come inside and then dipped in behind, and he was very unfortunate not to get a clear run at goal.
It's amazing how many times actually Ederson is able to do that. He's so good with the ball at his feet. You have to switch on as if a midfielder's got the ball when you're defending that, because he can just literally drop it on a plate, as I mentioned, from 60-70 yards, and that was an outstanding chance. It wasn't an easy first touch for Raheem Sterling. If it had been a fraction better, I don't think Reece James covers.
It was Raheem Sterling that broke the deadlock the last time the two sides met 3 weeks ago in the league. A much changed City side today, 8 changes from that team. Here's Havertz after Stones has missed his kick. Finding Mount, it's back for Havertz. Werner making a run in the middle. He's completely missed his kick. He was 8 yards out. The angle was relatively tight, but he was still inside from the corner of the 6-yard box, and he swung a left foot on it, and it hit his right and bounces to safety, with Manchester City able to bring it forward with Sterling in possession, and he slipped it inside the penalty area for Mahrez's run, and Chelsea's last gasp defending a combination of Rudiger and Chilwell gets it away. Back it comes again. Zinchenko to Sterling. Well, the first 9.5 minutes suggest this could be some encounter. Both sides showing how good they can be on the counter-attack. Zinchenko, here's the corner of the penalty area, fighting Sterling. 4 in light blue inside that box. One of them, Riyad Mahrez, trying to take it on away from Reece James, whose clearance just about gets out of harm's way, and then Kai Havertz will follow Zinchenko with the ball. And I think it's going to be a Chelsea ball. 10 minutes gone, Manchester City 0, Chelsea 0 on TalkSport.
One thing I really enjoy about European football is years ago there was a lot of defensive play, a lot of teams going on the road and banking up behind the ball. Champions League football now, teams just go after each other, and this game is following that format.
Bernardo Silva finding Ilkay Gundogan. Certainly no signs of any ill effects from the knock that he picked up in training yesterday. Stones now down towards Ruben Dias, coming in off the left flank, finding Ilkay Gundogan. Gundogan just turning it behind the referee, probably wanted to angle a ball out towards Mahrez on the right-hand touchline, but couldn't because of the positioning of the referee ahead of him. But Manchester City have maintained the ball very easily here. It's worked 4 from Walker. Gundogan now down to the City right-hand side, where Bernardo Silva will try and find a way through. Possession turned over, and then Mason Mount pulled back by Gundogan, and those are the free kicks that Manchester City are so effective at giving away, knowing when to do it. And they stopped the Chelsea counter-attack in its infancy.
It's interesting to see Chelsea playing this back 5. Both wing-backs locking onto the wide players of Manchester City. Rudiger stepping in and going in on Bernardo Silva, almost leaving Thiago and Azpilicueta 2-on-1 at the back, you know. So they play it slightly different, Andy.
Yeah, he does. Rudiger does that. You can sometimes drag him out of that position a little bit. Just a chance here, Jim.
Yeah, another nervy touch from John Stones. And Timo Werner has it, rolls it inside the penalty areas and goal. Conte trying to take it on, but Ruben Dias, the Football Writers Player of the Year, brings it away. Foden trying to slip it into the Manchester City captain, Kevin De Bruyne. Chelsea win it back again as Rudiger plays it out towards Chilwell. It's been a slightly nervy start from Stones. A couple of errors, neither of them punished anything like emphatically. And Cesar Azpilicueta will bring it forward here for Chelsea. Azpilicueta, who's won a couple of Europa League finals in his time with the club. Finding Thiago Silva. Long ball launched forward from him. Ben Chilwell's offside, and it's a free kick, which will be taken by Manchester City in their own right back position. 0-0.
Good start to the game. Really positive opening 12 minutes. Both teams, when they're getting the opportunity, committing people forward into the box. I mean, we had that little passage of play just 3 or 4 minutes ago where the ball swung from one end to the other very, very quickly, and really good to see a positive mindset from both teams. When they get the chance to hurt, they really want to inflict some damage on their opponent, and that makes for a classic game.
That's Andy Townsend. You're listening to Manchester City against Chelsea in the Champions League final. It's live on TalkSport with Music Magpie, the place to get great value certified refurbished phones and tech. This is Stuart Pearce.
I think as well, I think the only one out of both sets of players who's looked slightly nervous with it is John Stones.
Yes.
A couple of times, and it's that little modicum of pace that Werner's got, and it strikes fear into defenders. It really does, and he's looked very nervous early on.
He has. Zinchenko's stepping in and filling that extra man in the middle of the park as we thought he would, which means Diaz plays a little wider and leaves John Stones just a fraction isolated at times, if that ball to Werner is good enough.
Now Chelsea will bring it forward here with Mount finding Chilwell. Chilwell getting it away from Walker, taken on by Havertz inside the area. It's Timo Werner, and Ederson makes the save. Clearest opportunity of the game by a street. Chelsea working forward on the counter-attack down the City right, and Werner got it out from underneath his feet. Awkward for him to feel, and then a right-footed shot that he didn't get any power behind or direction. And Ederson made a much simpler save than he might have anticipated. Werner with another side of goal now. Left-hand side, side netting only. But it is Chelsea creating the opportunities.
Once again, I think it was John Stones got caught flat-footed. The play went up and through him and round him. And Werner, I probably half disagree there. I didn't think he got the ball out of his feet, and when it's under your feet like that, take another touch. He probably had more time on his hands than he actually thought.
He's had two very good situations in the game. The first one, the one that was cut back to him on his left side, he just didn't make any contact at all. That was an outstanding opportunity. Pearce is absolutely right. He could maybe have just had another touch to get his head up, and then he's shooting at Ederson from 8 yards out.
15 gone, 0-0. Chelsea's first corner. That last shot deflected off Stones. In it comes, and is comfortably claimed by Ederson. Just had to take a couple of quick steps back, but in taking it, he's now been able to release Mahrez. He rolls it forward through the midfield. Mahrez slips into his right. De Bruyne has taken it away from Chilwell. Just couldn't quite flick it away from Jorginho as well. And Chelsea will be able to bring it clear. Chilwell finding Jorginho, back from him to Rudiger on the edge of his own penalty area. Now the vastly experienced Thiago Silva, hoping that this Champions League final goes better than the last one, where it was in the PSG side that was well beaten by Bayern Munich, only 1-0, but the Bavarian superiority was quite marked. Is Silva now finding Azpilicueta down towards Reece James on the Chelsea right hand side, and back for Azpilicueta again. He turns it forward over halfway. Ruben Diaz is up there with Havertz. Offside flag came up for a moment. City still in possession, able to carry on going, and Gundogan's worked it forward and towards Riyad Mahrez. Mahrez checking back inside as he loves to do, flicks it away from Chilwell into the feet of Bernardo Silva. Gundogan, the bearded German in the midfield, takes it back towards Stones. Now work back towards Diaz. Diaz to Raheem Sterling on the Manchester City left. Coming into tonight on the back of just one goal in his last 15 games, Sterling, but it was against Chelsea. And here's the former Chelsea player, De Bruyne, trying to get away from James. Couldn't quite do so. James did well, stood his ground, and then extricated himself from Foden's challenge. Jorginho was in there to win a 50-50. And Chelsea will bring it away with a crossfield ball that Chilwell heads on intelligently into the path of Mason Mount, who's made a run down the left-hand side. He hits a little reverse ball forward towards the edge of the area. Werner controlling it back to goal. Zinchenko is with him. Chilwell chips it in. Conte coming around the back, and he got his header in. Got between two Manchester City players, but it was a difficult chance off balance, and he steered it wide.
Well, we spoke before the game about the importance of the first goal, and I think after 15 minutes of football, it's become even more clearer that the first goal here is going to be so crucial in the game. Both teams look a little bit nervous on occasion. Stones in City's back line. Reece James on occasions not got tight enough with his man, and it's caused him a problem.
Great chance that. You know, that was again, I think that shows you how committed Chelsea are to getting people forward. And N'Golo Kante, we know that he does burst forward every now and again. He was on the far post. The ball from Chilwell to him was a decent one, but the little man's header wasn't one of his finest. But again, both teams are committed to trying to attack and trying to get over the line first here.
N'Golo Kante, an unlikely goal scorer in many ways, particularly with his head. He's never scored in Europe, but the last team that he did score against, which was back in November 2019, some 18 months ago, was Manchester City. It's 0-0 tonight, 18 gone. That's a hugely entertaining 18 minutes that have raced by. Gundogan playing it out to the Manchester City right for Bernardo Silva. To Mahrez, very quickly back for Kyle Walker. Walker behind square for Stones, who can bring it forward through the centre circle in his yellow boots. Now down towards Zinchenko. Zinchenko keeping Joao Cancelo out of the side in that left back role these days. Stones can bring it forward again. Manchester City's build-up very much of a conservative nature at the moment. They're going sideways rather than forwards, just waiting for the gaps to appear. Zinchenko and Gundogan involved. Ruben Dias plays it into the feet of Kevin De Bruyne. He's just drawn Jorginho out from the middle, and now he tries to slip it through for Sterling, but James, knowing the run he was going to make, was able to cover and protect the space, which allowed Azpilicueta the opportunity to come and get it away. It's 0-0 with 19 gone in the Champions League final. Zinchenko has it again. Zinchenko level the edge of the Chelsea penalty area, and Werner flicks it out for another Manchester City throw, which Zinchenko takes quickly. The Ukrainian finding Ruben Dias right in front of Thomas Tuchel, who's, as always, quite an animated figure on the Chelsea bench. Back it goes now for Walker. Walker rolling it into the feet of Foden, and City working all the way back for Ederson.
Both yourself and Andy were talking about the importance of that midfield shield for Manchester City, and it just makes you wonder, with a couple of hairy moments for the likes of Stones there, how much that comfort blanket of a holding midfield player has caused him a problem in these early stages.
No doubt about that, Stuart, no doubt. I think when Chelsea have turned the ball over, they recognise tonight that there's an opportunity there to get right at the heart of that City defence, and they've done that very well in this opening 20-minute spell. Whenever they've won the ball, whenever they've turned possession over, they've immediately tried to get right through the middle of that City back line.
Only previous final between these two, or major final between these two, was the League Cup final some 2 years ago. City won that on penalties, having been the overwhelming favourites going into the game, but it was 0-0 after 120 minutes. That was the day that Kepa Arrizabalaga refused to come off, you will remember, for the penalty shootout. Here's Ruben Dias. Now Zinchenko works it forward. Conte's won it back and flicks it into the feet of Kai Havertz. Werner, the only Chelsea player who isn't in his own half. Havertz is able to play it forward, but his touch just let him down, and the other number 11, Zinchenko, can knock it away. Now Sterling will travel with the ball neatly and flick it around Azpilicueta. He's Kevin De Bruyne trying to work it in, and Azpilicueta came back and slimmed it out of play. Wouldn't have counted anyway. The offside flag was up, and it's a free kick to Chelsea.
Yeah, devastating pace there shown by Raheem Sterling. This time Timo Werner loses the ball on the halfway line, and then Sterling just picks it up, drives straight at that Chelsea back line, and he's just a little late in. He delays that pass to Kevin De Bruyne, and he's offside. But again, real good pace there from Raheem Sterling when he won the ball.
So at this moment in time, I think the attacking threat is certainly outweighing the defensive prowess of both teams at present.
Camera pans to those on the Chelsea bench, including Olivier Giroud, who has had some impact in the Champions League. A goal every 47 minutes of Champions League football this season, helped by the 4 that he scored in Seville. Both of these teams have had such an impressive record throughout the competition this season, just the one defeat between them. Here's Chilwell for Chelsea, back through the centre circle to Thiago Silva. And now Azpilicueta will pick it up on the right-hand touchline and just work it into the feet of Kai Havertz, and the tall German has got time to turn, and that's a good ball away from Walker. Chilwell playing it back in. Stones with one of his best contributions of the night so far, able to off balance get it away to safety. Back it will come again to Jorginho. We're midway through the first half here on TalkSport, and it is 0-0. Reece James, corner of the penalty area. working into the feet of Timo Werner. Werner back for James again. Right-footed ball inside the box. Havertz was waiting for it. Stones heads it away from him. Another good piece of defending play from the England centre-half. Back from Rudiger. Jorginho. He will go further back to Thiago Silva. He takes a touch and then another and then works it out towards Ben Chilwell, who's beaten in the air by Kyle Walker, and the break could be on for Manchester City. Walker straight away after his header, scampering forward, and he's won a free kick to be fouled by Ben Chilwell, by Jorginho, I beg your pardon. Midway through the first half, it is 0-0 between Manchester City and Chelsea in the Champions League final. We've already brought you Brentford's success against Swansea in the playoff final today. Brentford in the Premier League next season. More playoff final action for you tomorrow over on TalkSport 2. It's Blackpool against Lincoln, with Perry Groves alongside Sam for that one. And then Monday, Morecambe against Newport, with Dance talking through the action. And then we really begin our build-up to Euro 2020 with England against Austria and France against Wales on Wednesday night. Stuart alongside Saxon and myself up on Teesside for you Wednesday evening. England-Austria build-up starts at 7 for an 8 o'clock kick-off. And France against Wales is over on TalkSport 2, and that kicks off at 8:05. So we've got it all covered for you, and every kick from every game in Euro 2020 is live here on TalkSport. Champions League final tonight is still goalless as the ball is worked forward. Plenty of these protagonists will be involved for their countries over the course of the summer. Zinchenko lays it back for Ederson. Ederson gets it away. De Bruyne trying to get on the half turn against Thiago Silva, but Azpilicueta was there first, and then he's eased it over the right-hand touchline and out of play for a Manchester City throw. 24 gone, Manchester City 0, Chelsea 0. Here's Andy Townsend.
Yeah, best chances in the game have fallen to Chelsea. Timo Werner with some really positive play and energetic running. He's got himself into some good situations, and they've had the best moments. I think City are just struggling at the moment to get Phil Foden involved in the game enough, and maybe Bernardo Silva too. I think lots of possession on the halfway line. One or two moments themselves, but I think they could just do with getting Foden involved a bit more, Stu.
Yeah, definitely. And some of that credit's got to go to Chelsea. I think that they're banking up with bigger and better numbers, making it very difficult. Rudiger stepping in on occasion and making sure there's no space to receive and get turned at the other end of the pitch. When Chelsea have got forward, it looks as though there's more space to operate.
Here's a free kick here to Chelsea after N'Golo Kanté was fouled by Ruben Dias. And an opportunity to swing a left-footed delivery inside the box. City defending with a high-ish line there, about 12-13 yards from goal. The free kick is probably 8 yards outside the penalty area. James standing over it, and it is his ball, right-footed away swing off the top of Havertz's head. Werner wins the seconds, nods it back down for James. James going back for Conte, and then Conte not taking any chances, knowing that the press was coming. Goes 60 yards back to his goalkeeper. Mendy swinging it forward. Zinchenko's on the end of that and heads it into the midfield. Gundogan with a touch finds his captain De Bruyne. And the Belgian just brings it forward over halfway line and then turns and sends it back inside his own half for Ruben Dias, who's making his 50th City appearance today. And now it goes to Stones. Stones inside the centre circle. Often the way with Manchester City that the tempo of the game fluctuates so wildly. And that's the case today. At the moment, almost down to walking pace. And Stones just moving from first gear up to second, finding Ruben Dias. Zinchenko moving into the midfield with the ball played ahead of him to De Bruyne, and now Sterling will try and use his pace to go around the outside of Reece James. James has done well, defended that magnificently, because he couldn't dive in and try and make a challenge and risk mistiming it, and he just went shoulder to shoulder, flicked out a foot, one possession back, and could bring it away.
I tell you what, I think Reece James has got to be on high alert for 90 minutes here with Sterling. Sterling's asking questions. We had that run earlier where he dipped inside and then slipped in the back of him, and a couple of times when he's taken him on, he has been at full stretch.
Gundogan. And now flicked on by Sterling, and here's De Bruyne, and it's Phil Foden! Foden inside the penalty area!
What a challenge.
It was Rudiger that made it. who came back in, and the masked Chelsea defender threw himself into the line of fire. It flicked back up on the inside of his right leg, and Mendy could come out and catch it.
What a challenge that is from Antonio Rudiger, because brilliant, fast, incisive play from Manchester City finds Phil Foden, edge of the 6-yard box, on his left foot, and the big German comes flying across to smother it. Brilliant challenge.
Rudiger, a player who was out of contention under Frank Lampard, who hardly started a Premier League game under Frank this season, but has now started each of the last 9 Champions League ties. Talking about settled runs in this competition just shows you how important Foden is to Manchester City these days, because he didn't start the opening game in the group, but has started every other match in Europe for them this season. His reaction suggests that he thinks he should have scored. We're 28 minutes in, and it's 0-0.
Yeah, I think Chelsea, if they're going to be vulnerable on either side, it's going to be this right-hand side, I think, with De Bruyne coming, creating the overload with Sterling, and probably Werner gravitating somewhere around Stones and running off of Stones. I think that will be the other end of the pitch where a problem will come for Manchester City.
What we're also seeing is we're talking such fine margins here, Jim. This game is going to come down to a great first touch, a decision in the tightest of company and situations. It's high stakes, top class, top of the pile football. This is, it really is. I think the game has started really, really well. I think it's been an excellent opening 30 minutes.
Nip and tuck, and so many of the showpiece events can be a little bit disappointing, particularly when they've had so much of a build-up, and the profile is so high. A final between 2 English clubs, but it hasn't disappointed so far.
No, it hasn't. No, it's really on the edge. It is. It's that sort of game. It's going to be that sort of evening where you lose your concentration, your focus for a split second. You could be the person that lets the side down. So it's that sort of night.
Gundogan plays it away from Mason Mount to find Diaz on halfway. Possession 60-40 in Manchester City's favour at the moment, and not too many shots from either team. 3 to Chelsea, 2 for City, and just 1 on target apiece inside half an hour. Walker making his way forward on the Manchester City right. Oh, he got it across. He beat Chilwell, and Thiago Silva was absolutely irate because he thought that there should have been a flag. The play was allowed to continue, and Walker did brilliantly. He just couldn't find the man in the centre. City beginning to stretch the play now. It's Sterling making his way forward. That shot hits Azpilicueta, and Mendy will come out and gather the loose ball. For the last 3 or 4 minutes, things just beginning to gravitate Manchester City's way.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Walker's pace, we know, is outstanding, and he knocked it past Ben Chilwell, sprinted past him, fired a ball across the 6-yard box. I don't think Riyad Mahrez thought he was going to get there.
No, I think Chilwell was too concerned with either A, trying to buy a foul, or B, blocking the run rather than dealing with the ball.
Yeah.
Ball is in the hands of Edouard Mendy. And he bowls it out for Thiago Silva, who will play it forward, right-footed towards halfway. Headed down by Ruben Diaz. City just beginning to win a little bit more of the second ball now in the midfield. It's De Bruyne at that time, and flicked it away off Reece James. And out of play for a throw. Just seeing a replay of that fantastic run from Kyle Walker. Mahrez just there half a second late. Hadn't been able to gamble on Walker producing such a high-quality delivery as he did. Zinchenko's lost it now for Manchester City. Werner can bring it forward. 20 yards inside the Manchester City half. He's laid it back for N'Golo Kanté. Now from Havertz to James. James back at right wing back today, with Azpilicueta playing inside him on the right of the 3 centre halves. Now Azpilicueta will work it forward. That's not the best ball either. De Bruyne can cut that out. Little 1-2 with Sterling. Foden involved, trying to get away from Jorginho. Foden makes sure the referee realised he was fouled by falling down on the ball and catching it. The referee did agree. Here's Gundogan picking it up, finding De Bruyne. De Bruyne getting back goal side of Kai Havertz. Havertz sticking out a long right leg and able to flick the ball away from De Bruyne, who feels his shoulder as he just came away from that challenge a little bit gingerly, but he's okay. Now Bernardo Silva working it through the midfield for Kyle Walker. City's possession is in better areas now as well. Couldn't beat Chilwell that time, and Mason Mount will be able to bring it away up the left-hand touchline. Mount, who scored in both the quarterfinals and the semi-finals, the Only European goals of his career to date. We're 13 minutes away from half-time here on TalkSport. And it is still Manchester City 0, Chelsea 0. Real clear-cut goal-scoring opportunities at a premium. Timo Werner has had the best of those that have been created. Here's Rudiger. Only 6 yards from the dead ball line. Works it out to the Chelsea left-hand side, and Mount then with a yelp of pain was caught by Gundogan. Referee places a good advantage because Reece James can bring it forward. Mount is back on his feet as James gets towards the edge of the penalty area, setting it up here for Werner. Werner couldn't get himself into a shooting position thanks to the position of Gundogan, but now it's Azpilicueta who has it. Ederson just shuffling nervously across his line, unsighted for a moment. Chelsea can't get into a position to be able to pull the trigger. Mount works it wide for Chilwell. Chilwell on the edge of the penalty area. Goes back again for Mason Mount. Chelsea's turn to have a sustained spell of possession. It's cut out by Kyle Walker's intelligent backtracking. Chilwell might have been offside had the ball got there, but Walker came back and nodded the ball back to his goalkeeper. And in fact the replay shows that Chilwell was in fact well offside, but Walker was there, got it back to his goalkeeper, and play goes on. 12 to the break. It is Manchester City 0, Chelsea 0.
Yeah, I think Walker got rather fortunate there that he was offside. He'd switched off and he didn't know where the run had come from, and just at the other end of the pitch as well, I think Reece James could do with just staying nice and tight to Azpilicueta at times. He's advanced and just come a little bit wide, and it's just opened up a little channel for Manchester City to exploit on occasion.
City working forward here. Thiago Silva towering over Foden, can head away. And the whistle goes, and the referee's going to produce a yellow card here for the earlier challenge. That was the one on Mount by Gundogan, which was a couple of minutes ago. The referee played the advantage, and Gundogan gets the yellow card.
Yeah, it's a long time has passed since that happened, and it's one of those ones. I think Ilkay Gundogan, certainly his feet are high, but he's a little unlucky. He's trying to control the ball, and Mason Mount just nips across the front of him, gets there first, and I felt a little unlucky to get that yellow card.
On his third of the season, Manchester City's top scorer, who's playing his 50th game of the campaign tonight. 11 Premier League goals since the turn of the year. It's just a brief hiatus here. Players from both sides taking a little bit of fluid on board. Olivier Giroud is out warming up. Thiago Silva had just picked up a knock and is making his way very gingerly over towards the touchline. And during this brief break,
he's actually holding his groin.
Yeah, it's quite worrying that, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure how comfortable Thiago Silva is. Actually, a couple of times Kyle Walker can do that to anybody, but he's usually so flawless and so unflappable. But again, once or twice he's not looked as comfortable and as assured as he usually does, but he's just holding his groin a little bit there as he came over to get some water. We'll keep monitoring that.
Christensen's on the bench. He would be the natural replacement. Zuma, another centre-half on the bench for Chelsea if necessary. Thomas Tuchel just having a word with Reece James, and there was also some coaching from Guardiola, just fine-tuning John Stones' performance during this break. Silva rubs the perspiration off his face with his blue Chelsea shirt. He's going to be okay for now and able to continue, and play will resume with a throw with 9 minutes from half-time. And it's Manchester City 0, Chelsea 0. Silva just asking for permission from the referee to come back on, which hasn't yet been granted. And now we do get back underway with Manchester City in possession with Walker. Walker back for John Stones. And every Chelsea player is back inside his own half, including Thiago Silva, who has now come back on. Stones out towards the Manchester City right. Gundogan turning it into the feet of Phil Foden. Conte was on his heels, making sure that he played the ball immediately and wasn't able to turn. Zinchenko to Sterling. Sterling back behind De Bruyne, who then couldn't dispossess Conte with a sliding challenge, and Chelsea can break quickly. Havertz to his right-hand side. Werner making his way through the middle. It's Havertz onto his left foot, and Zinchenko came back. Got his left instep to it as Havertz tucked it back inside to try and get a shot in. Zinchenko had anticipated exactly what was coming and could nudge it away from him. Now Manchester City can break. It's De Bruyne making his way towards the edge of the penalty area. Foden's in the box. Bernardo Silva's in there as well. It's Mahrez, lovely turn, gets the better of Chilwell, but his right-footed cross-come shot is straight into the hands of Mendy.
Yeah, that last opportunity against top sides, you've not got too long to get your shot away. Havertz on that occasion, he takes one, and he should be unloading with his right foot really across the goalkeeper and saying, look, you either save it or a teammate's getting a tap in.
7.5 to go to half-time, and Thiago Silva's race might be run. Not the happiest final last year on the losing side, and it doesn't look as though he's going to make half-time this time around.
He's down on his knees at the moment with his head in his hands, and he's not right. So and it's not the sort of day where you can dwell and you can wait, and ideally Tuchel would love to have got to half-time. He's not going to be able to do that. A change is imminent, Jim.
Yeah, Christensen, the man who's going to be coming on for him. It looks as though that challenge with Phil Foden that just opened up his groin as he got on the end of a long ball that had been played forward, and he's doing his best to look stoical as he leaves the field. The religious man Thiago Silva looked up to the heavens, and a little wry shake of the head. He's now got his shirt over his face as he leaves the field and makes his way down towards the touchline, but that's his Champions League final over, unfortunately, and Christensen's on to replace him.
Yeah, I think Christensen's played a lot of football, hasn't he, as has Zuma of recent times, so I don't think that will be too much of a problem for him. You don't want to make too many substitutions too early on, but the fact is, as Andy mentioned beforehand, with 5 enabled over the 90 minutes, you should be comfortable with that.
Can only make them, just to reiterate the situation, at 3 points within the playing time. So that is one that has been made. If they don't make any at half-time, they would have to make 2 doubles or a triple and another single at some stage in the second half. It's Manchester City 0, Chelsea 0, 6 to go to half-time. The first half that is going to be elongated because of the stoppages over the last 5-6 minutes or so. Ball cleared down the Chelsea right. You with TalkSport, Jim Proudfoot, Stuart Pearce, Andy Townsend, Mark Saggers, talking through the action. Havertz bringing forward here for Chelsea. Finding Chilwell, left-footed ball clips inside the area. Werner tries to cushion it down. Boot was raised. Havertz didn't make more of that by ducking his head in towards where Ruben Dias was trying to clear it. And the Manchester City defender, as a result of that, had a free pass in raising his boot high, and Christensen gets his first touch to go back to his keeper.
Yeah, another chance there for Timo Werner. It was a poor touch and poor decision from him, I felt, in the box there. He was trying to knock it off to a teammate to get a shot away, but the ball that he dropped off was no good. It was bobbling and bouncing.
Chilwell back down the left-hand touchline with a clever little back heel. Chelsea switched the play immediately, and James backpedaling can bring it down on his solar plexus and then just work it back behind square for Jorginho. Chelsea very quickly have all of their outfield players in Manchester City territory. We're in the final 5 minutes of the first half. It is 0-0. And the ball is back with Antonio Rudiger, who finds Christensen. Christensen inside the centre circle, goes a square to his left for Rudiger, and then another high spinning ball down towards Reece James, but Zinchenko deals with that one and heads it out of play. So another Manchester City milestone tonight. Zinchenko making his 100th appearance for the club. If Fernandinho comes on, it'll be his 350th, and may well be his 350th and last. And Aguero, of course, definitely won't be playing for Manchester City again after tonight if he gets the opportunity to come off the bench. Here's Azpilicueta. Play forward into the feet of N'Golo Kanté. Now to James, back for Christensen. Christensen, who himself went off injured just before half-time in the last meeting of these two about 3 weeks ago. Sliding challenge comes in from Bernardo Silva to put the ball out of play for a Chelsea throw. And that's the one thing that City haven't really been able to do, Stu, is get the primary attacking influences in possession quite readily enough, the likes of Silva and Foden and De Bruyne.
I don't think Chelsea have enabled them to counter-attack them when they've been unhinged in many ways. Chelsea have got back into that 5-2-3 scenario and denied them space, with Rudiger stepping in and stopping that space in the inside channels.
Now great through ball, Havertz got it round the goalkeeper, taps it in! Chelsea lead Manchester City in the 2021 Champions League final. One through ball through the middle. Ederson raced out. Havertz with a little touch, flicked it past him, side foots it into the net. It is first blood to Chelsea. Those in dark blue in the stadium are in raptures as they lead Manchester City coming up to half-time.
Wow, wide open Manchester City when they lost the ball there in the middle of the park. Actually they didn't, it was from Mendy, the goalkeeper. He just clipped it out to Chilwell, who found Mason Mount. John Stones had dropped off him, allowed him to pick his head up, and that brilliant run from Kai Havertz inside Zinchenko takes him right to the edge of the box. He skips past Ederson, and then he just has an empty net just to roll it in. Big goal, massive moment in this Champions League occasion.
We were just talking about Chelsea denying Manchester City the space to operate in the main. Manchester City have done totally the opposite to Chelsea. They've spread their whole back line right across the width of the pitch, and the holes were ridiculous.
The first goal he's ever scored in the Champions League. Kai Havertz gives Chelsea the lead. 1-0. 3 minutes before half-time.
Jim, that's a press there, so the goalkeeper's got the ball. City, Stuart, there have pushed and pressed, and they're right up trying to threaten the ball. The goalie's just chips it out to Chilwell, drops it off to Mason Mount, picks his head up, knocks a 40-yard ball right through the middle of that City back line, and they go 1-up. I mean, listen, from a Chelsea point of view, it's brave, but it's really good football. From a City point of view, it's not right. You shouldn't be penetrated that easy.
It's suicidal to play. The spaces were far too vast to cover. They've ended up being a one-on-one scenario, and players not locked onto their players. So, well, we said that the first goal's going to be really important. It certainly has turned out that way. And we're just looking at it again. Zinchenko's just let his man run. Diaz it was that was covering the run of Werner.
And John Stones had made his way forward and was kind of involved in the half space really between the midfield and the defensive line. Ruben Diaz had far too much ground to try and cover, and Zinchenko had let Havertz have the run off him. Apart from that, it worked well for Manchester City. Ben Chilwell has possession for Chelsea, leading by a goal to nil, and on the front foot again here with Reece James trying to take on Sterling. Zinchenko is back and forces James back. Azpilicueta now 10 yards inside the Manchester City half. He goes back for Christensen, on as a substitute for Thiago Silva just a few minutes ago. Kai Havertz with the goal. Chelsea going to beat Manchester City for the third time in the space of 7 weeks. 3 minutes of stoppage time at the end of this first half. Kai Havertz with the goal on 43 minutes. The difference between the two teams, a day where goal scoring opportunities have been at a premium. That feels like a massive moment. Only the third shot on target of the game. Havertz putting it away, and put it away with aplomb for a player who hasn't scored that many goals this season. Off balance, having nudged it away from Ederson. But he just had a little look up to steady himself, saw what the goal was, had the time to take another touch, but just siphoned it in calmly. And consternation on the Manchester City bench. How do they react to this? Going a goal down against the Chelsea side with such an impressive defensive record by and large, even if it has just gone off the ball a little in recent weeks. Here's Conte, ball chipped inside the box. It's Werner. Chested it down, the angle was tight, but he just bobbled it well wide of the side netting. But it's 1-0 Chelsea coming up to half-time.
Right from the kick-off tonight, Chelsea have had a threat on the counter. When that ball changes hands, they come alive. They're coming alive quicker than that City back line and at the heart of that City midfield. You know, it was always going to be a risk, Jim, to not play Rodri or Fernandinho. I mean, they've been there all season. And I understand when you want to dominate the ball, and they do, City, you have as many footballers in there as you can, but sometimes the Gundogan's of this world and the Bernardo Silvas, they don't switch on that split second quicker than those natural defensive-minded midfield players, and Chelsea have punished them, and they've looked like they could punish them right from the get-go.
I think when you see where the ball was played right through the heart of the defence, that is the area where a bona fide holding midfield player operates in.
Well, the last time these two sides met, it was Manchester City that had the advantage at half-time. The goal up should have been 2 with the missed penalty from Aguero. Chelsea came back in the second half. Manchester City are going to have to do that to them in the second half of this one. Ball has gone out of play. We've only got about 40 seconds of stoppage time to go in this first half. It's going to be a Chelsea throw in their left-back position, which Ben Chilwell is going to come across to take. Player who scored against Porto in the first leg of the quarter-finals. Ball worked forward into the feet of Gundogan after Foden could chest it down. Here's Zinchenko. Time for one last Manchester City attack in this first period, but they're going to have to be quick. Forward from Diaz to Stones. Stones inside the centre circle. And Diaz just makes a run to his left-hand side. Back for Stones again, only seconds remaining. Not enough time for Manchester City to get it forward, surely. Walker, dispossessed by Mason Mount. That's the last action of the first half, which has been an engaging, enthralling contest. Chelsea losing Thiago Silva to injury, but only a matter of moments later, they had the lead. The through ball picking out Kai Havertz. Manchester City's defensive shape all awry. No midfield cover. Havertz taking it round Edison and poking it into the net. And at half-time in the 2021 final, it is Manchester City 0, Chelsea 1. Royal blue is indeed the colour, and the one thing that you would have to say about Chelsea since Tuchel took over, their defensive record has been so impressive. They've only lost the one game in which they've led since Tuchel came to the club, and that was that freak 5-2 home defeat to West Bromwich Albion. If you take that out of it, they've only conceded 11 goals in 28 games since he's been at the helm. I think it's something like 15 wins, a draw and a defeat from 1-0 up. Champions League finals tend to go the way of the side that score first. This is the first time that Chelsea have ever led a Champions League final. The previous two both ended 1-1, with the opponent scoring first and Chelsea equalising before such differing fates in the respective penalty shootouts. No changes in terms of personnel at the beginning of the second half. And Manchester City in light blue shirts and white shorts, kicking from left to right. Run through the two teams for you in a moment. Chelsea have it back with their men in all royal blue, defending the end away to the right-hand side. City lineup: Edison in goal, Walker, Diaz, Stones and Zinchenko. In midfield it's Silva, Gundogan and Foden. Up front, Mahrez, De Bruyne and Sterling. Chelsea, Mendy in goal, Azpilicueta, Christensen, who came off the injured Silva, and Rudiger. James, Jorginho, Conte and Chilwell, Mount and Havertz, and Werner up front. Gundogan the only man in the book. Kai Havertz on the score sheet. We're a minute into the second half. TalkSport, and the clock ticking down now for Chelsea towards their second Champions League triumph. What will Manchester City's response be? Bernardo Silva heading the ball forward. Kevin De Bruyne is beaten to it by Rudiger. You are listening to Manchester City against Chelsea in the Champions League final. It's live on TalkSport with McDonald's McDelivery. Order McDelivery now on the Uber Eats or Just Eat app. We deliver. Raheem Sterling in possession for City, and he's been brought down by James, and it's a free kick on the Manchester City left. Stuart Pearce.
Yeah, I think the format that this second half's following at the moment, Chelsea banked up behind the ball, very little space for City to operate in, and I think I can see that suiting Chelsea and taking their opportunities on the break.
Well, Manchester City have a set piece, and they've been few and far between. There's Zinchenko standing in a central position near the edge of the D. Kevin De Bruyne looks over it, trying to survey what angle to try and feed this inside the penalty area. Diaz is forward, Stones is forward, Bernardo Silva, bearded Portuguese international, in between the pair of them. Everybody back for Chelsea. They're trying to keep a high line. Christensen broke first. It was a really poor delivery, and it came to N'Golo Conte thigh high, and he was able to take a touch and then rifle it into the nearest Manchester City player. And out of play for a goal kick, which will be taken by Edouard Mendy for Chelsea. 48 gone. It's 1-0 to Chelsea on TalkSport. Here's Andy Townsend.
Yep, start of the second half. Well, it's City that are playing in Chelsea territory. Chance there, they had to whip a dangerous set play in, but the delivery wasn't good enough. But again, they'll want to get on the ball. Nothing looks like it's changed too much from the shape that they were operating within the first half, Jim.
Riyad Mahrez has it on the right flank for Manchester City. and goes back inside his own half for John Stones. If the City fans are desperately praying for omens, going to go back 7 years for the last time the side conceded the first goal and ended up lifting the trophy, which was when Real Madrid left it very, very late against Atletico Madrid, equalised in the 3rd minute of stoppage time, and then put 3 past them in extra time to beat them 4-1. Ball goes out towards Sterling. Sterling on the left flank. N'Golo Kanté can bring it away, and a step forward from him. Sterling did well. He came back, won the battle of the 2 number 7s. Out-muscle Kanté, find Zinchenko. Now to Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva's got Walker making a run past him. Bernardo Silva used that as the decoy, came back inside to find Gundogan. Gundogan now working to Walker again. Silva's near the corner of the penalty area. Bernardo Silva onto his left foot, then checks back, drops his shoulder, gets it onto his right. Walker's ball inside the box, and it's caught by the diving Edouard Mendy, only a couple of feet off the ground, and he comes out patrolling his penalty area very effectively. 4 gone second half, 1-0 Chelsea.
I think City have got to do one or two things at the moment. They've either got to draw Chelsea out and get Chelsea on the attack, or they've got to overload in wide areas. And what I mean by that is when you draw a line down the pitch or on the outside of the box, if there's 3 Chelsea players there, there's got to be 4 Manchester City players there to build up and get that overload, because otherwise it just suits Chelsea, and they seem adept at sort of dealing man for man or a number superiority.
Yeah, they've not been able to get to the byline, Stu, you're right. Kyle Walker did it once first half when he cut that ball back very, very close for Riyad Mahrez to apply a finishing touch, but since that moment they haven't really got into that area that they're so good usually operating in.
Edison forced a race to the edge of his penalty area as Walker's defensive header did find him, and City will bowl it out from the back and try and get going down the left hand side with Zinchenko.
Tell you, Jim, you don't have to give Tuchel credit for the way that Chelsea are without the ball. They are so hard to break down. They're so diligent with their defensive work. Nobody seems to lose focus or concentration. Once or twice first half, Reece James nearly got caught out by Sterling, but just about got away with it. Since then, they've defended really well.
What's astonished me, and this sounds as though it's an insult to Frank, and it's not meant to at all, but he's only been there 4 months. You think how quickly the transformation has occurred from how Chelsea were when Tuchel took charge, when they were 8th in the Premier League and confidence was at a real low and they'd lost 4 of the last 5 games on the road, to how they are now, 40 minutes away from being crowned kings of Europe. Here's Kanté trying to nudge his way past Gundogan, and he's succeeded. Finds Werner, back for Kanté. Now Jorginho has it on the halfway line, the man that ended Chelsea's Premier League season as their leading scorer with 7, which was the first time the side that finished in the top 4 had a leading scorer with less than 10 goals in more than a century. Manchester City have it with Stones. There's also the lowest tally for a leading scorer for Chelsea in a league season since Ian Hutchinson back in 1975. Gundogan playing it to his left for Ruben Dias. Now out towards Zinchenko. Zinchenko through the legs of Reece James to find De Bruyne. Able to drive forward. Who's there? Kanté. Brilliantly timed challenge in front of the referee. But that was just immaculate and draws an implicit compliment from my esteemed colleague to my left-hand side.
Well, I don't know whether he wants a game next year at West Ham, you know, but he's more than welcome. Honestly, Andy, I just absolutely love this kid. He's low maintenance, he's just snuffed out danger, he gets forward, he's got bags of energy, he doesn't give the ball away a great deal. Incredible player.
And now Chelsea will bring it forward. As a result of that, here's Mount. The offside flag's up. Now then towards Werner. And there's a free kick which will be taken by Manchester City. Just having another view of De Bruyne bringing the ball forward, and Kanté's just got the big toe of his right foot to it on the slide, off balance, and no margin for error. He didn't need any.
I tell you what he does, N'Golo Kanté. He's so good at how he operates. He frustrates the life out of players that play against him, because Kevin De Bruyne thought he just nicked half a yard on him there and got the wrong side of him, and then all of a sudden his powers of recovery are so good, wraps his foot around it, wins the ball fair and square to really frustrate and disappoint De Bruyne again.
Reece James has it for Chelsea and will play it forward, and Werner is on the march. Good sliding challenge at the other end of the field. came from Diaz, just to make sure that he could nick it out of Werner's stride. And Manchester City will bring it forward. The last team to take the lead in a Champions League final but lose inside 90 minutes was Arsenal against Barcelona 15 years ago, when they dared to dream but got pegged back after the red card with 2 goals in the last 15 minutes. This one is Manchester City 0, Chelsea 1, 8.5 into the second half. Pep Guardiola hoping to lift this trophy for the first time in 10 years almost to the day, since he led Barcelona to their 2011 success against Manchester United. In fact, it was 10 years ago yesterday. He also won this competition as a player back in 1992 and was a runner-up in the final a couple of years after that. Ilkay Gundogan has given away possession for Guardiola's charges, though. He came in trying to get the ball away from Havertz, and he mistimed it, and he caught the outside of the left leg of the man who at the moment, still with a long way to go, is the match winner. So this Chelsea free kick will be taken about 4 or 5 yards from the right-hand touchline. The Chelsea fans that you can hear, sea of royal blue shirts. What can Chelsea do to try and double their lead? It's the light blue shirts in a line laterally across the edge of the penalty area. 6 of them. Bernardo Silva a little bit ahead of them as night begins to fall in Porto. The ball swung inside the penalty area. Rudiger going up for it. Stones headed it away. Helped further clear by Mahrez. Foden will charge out after Conte. Conte turning it over his left shoulder. Gets it to safety. It's going to go out of play though for a goal kick that will be taken by Ederson and Manchester City. And Chelsea have got through the first 10 minutes of the second half with no undue alarm. They lead 1-0.
No, Chelsea know exactly what they've got to do, and I think the importance of Chelsea is that engine room, Jorginho and Kante. If they can stay in slot, not get drawn out of their positions, and keep nullifying any space that City might want to get in, I think it's going to be a long night for City trying to break them down.
There's a nasty collision here between Antonio Rudiger and Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah, De Bruyne it was actually. The ball was fed into him. He knocked it off first time to try and get the return past the other side of Rudiger, and they've clashed heads. The referee has got a yellow card in his hand, which I think he's going to give to Rudiger. And of course, Antonio Rudiger's wearing that protective mask across his face already, but actually he's body checked De Bruyne there. He's deliberately body checked him there, and the referee's quite right to give the card. Because as we mentioned earlier about Rudiger, he goes in all the way with the player right in front of him. He did there, but De Bruyne was already going to skip round him.
And that's something that Manchester City haven't been able to exploit so far. Rudiger, of the 3 centre-halves, is the one that will push forward into space and will track his man. And we saw in the league game, we were talking about it before the game 3 weeks ago, where Jesus had made a good run forward on that occasion for a ball in the space in behind Rudiger that he vacates, but City just haven't been able to work that situation at all.
No, they haven't. I mean, De Bruyne's he's a fabulous footballer, he's a strong runner, but he's not quick where he's going to run away from anybody from that sort of position. That's where they miss that natural focal point up front, with someone who's going to make those cute 10-20 yard runs to get into a good area.
Well, Kevin De Bruyne is still down. Rudiger's back on his feet. I don't think it actually was the head of Antonio Rudiger that was hurt. It certainly is for De Bruyne, and he is still down receiving treatment. Now they do have to go through the concussion protocol, and they will make sure with any potential head injury that he's okay. They won't move his neck or allow him to get back to his feet immediately until they know he's alright. So the fact that he's still lying on his back isn't necessarily a terrible sign, but it doesn't look good. Rudiger did get a yellow card for the challenge, which actually is his first of the season, coming in the final match of his campaign. 12 minutes into the second half, and De Bruyne is still down. Gundogan and Foden are leaning over him. They are looking at his left eye, Kevin De Bruyne. But the fact that Gabriel Jesus is stripped and ready for action and receiving his instructions here from Pep Guardiola suggests that Kevin De Bruyne is not going to be able to continue, and that clearly is a monumental blow. Notwithstanding the fact he's had a quiet night, it's a huge loss for City.
Yeah, it is. He's an individual that can change any game, with his quality. But what you would say from Jesus, I think City needed a change. This second half, they've demonstrated in this second half that, look, it's going to take a bit more than what they've got on the pitch to break them down, and whether it be a tactical change, personnel change or whatever. And we just, I'll leave that one with you, Jim.
Yeah.
He's got a black eye. I think it's fair to say. I mean, that has come up really quickly. They were looking around the top of his eye, but it's underneath it. It's all swollen up. He's distraught as he leaves the field, and he's leaving the field in pain, but also in anguish. In anguish at the fact that he can no longer do what he needs to do to try and influence this part of Manchester City's long journey. Can't make any impression on his Champions League final from here on in his races run, and of course the severe pain of what you have to say is a cynically imparted injury.
It was a blatant attempt from Rudiger to prevent him. Look, of course, when he makes that challenge, Jim, he doesn't intend to hurt Kevin De Bruyne in the manner that he has, but he certainly intended to stop him and block him and body check him. And you're right, Kevin De Bruyne leaves the field a frustrated figure, and also he's very upset that he's no longer going to be taking part.
Well, those that are still there for Manchester City have to try and win it for him now. It's Sterling through a crowd of players. Did it hit an arm? The referee says no. The VAR obviously is going to look at it. The Manchester City complaints could hardly be more vehement or vociferous, and they're surrounding the referee. Play still goes on. City work it forward again. It's off the top of Zinchenko's head and goes through for Mendy, and the referee is indicating he's slapping his chest and then his arm, saying that it cannon from one onto the other, and that, as Reece James was the player involved, is why a penalty wasn't given. Alejandro Hernandez is the VAR. They certainly had a look at it. The play goes on at the moment, Stuart.
Yeah, on first viewings, I think the referee got it right. He was absolutely convinced that he's got it right, the referee, and to be quite honest with you, I'll be surprised if he hasn't.
Well, they're still having a look at it. According to the monitors, VAR, potential penalty check, now check over. And play does continue. It's 1-0 to Chelsea. We've played an hour, but this second half already is going to be elongated by a good 3-4 minutes or so. Here's Foden for Manchester City. Got himself into a shooting position, fired it over the bar. What's the change of dynamic now for City that they've got Jesus playing there as opposed to De Bruyne?
Well, we're just seeing again a rerun of that Sterling incident. What I did like about what the referee done there, Jim, was that he was immediately telling everybody chest then arm, so it can't be a penalty. Sometimes referees have a habit of running away from a situation, leaving everybody guessing, and it winds everyone up, not only on the field, on the terraces too. The referee there was trying to demonstrate exactly why he didn't see it as a penalty, and VAR confirmed that. But just going back to Gabriel Jesus, look, they have a focal point up there now. He also likes to roam and run, but he won't be dropping as deep as what De Bruyne and co have been doing.
Scored his first goal in 10 games against Everton last weekend in that 5-0 victory for Manchester City. 14 this season for Jesus. Jesus first cab off the rank when they needed a striker rather than Aguero. But probably you would expect that. 17 minutes gone second half. It's Manchester City 0, Chelsea 1. They've had the lead now for 20 minutes or so. Kai Havertz with the goal just before half-time. You're with TalkSport. Jim Proudfoot, Stuart Pearce, Andy Townsend and Mark Saggers talking you through the action from our studio monitors in London as Walker brings it forward for Manchester City. Just a little flick from Jesus, trying to get Foden in behind him. Foden then stays down for a moment. Manchester City can't get the ball out towards Sterling, who's now got the captain's armband after De Bruyne went off. Chelsea bring it forward with James. James goes back for Jorginho. Jorginho inside the centre circle. Christensen behind him. Now Azpilicueta can work it forward. Flipped over the top by Chelsea, and a good diving header from Kyle Walker gets it back to his goalkeeper Ederson. You're listening to Manchester City against Chelsea in the Champions League final. It's live on TalkSport with Music Magpie, the UK's #1 phone recycler. Get cash for your tech, the smart one. John Stones in possession, and he'll bring it to the halfway line for City. Works it into the feet of Mahrez, and Fernandinho's going to be coming on in a moment. Next change for Manchester City. Mahrez has it again now. Mahrez on the edge of the centre circle. Gundogan to Zinchenko feeding Sterling, who's a clamour for the ball. Foden receives the ball from Sterling, then tried to flick it back round the corner for him, but couldn't find him. So City will make their second change, and Fernandinho comes on, his 350th and potentially final appearance for the club. He's out of contract, and he's going to replace Bernardo Silva in the midfield.
Yeah, so again, and I think that's a wise move, because Stuart mentioned at half-time. I think now, because of the state of the game, and they can't play without risk now, City, so they need some sort of level of insurance, and Fernandinho will give them that.
And with Pulisic coming on as well, he'll give an extra threat on the counter-attack with his pace.
A real cat and mouse game going on between the two managers at the moment. Stones finding Diaz. Diaz working out to the Manchester City left for Zinchenko. Back from him to Foden. So Fernandinho anchoring the midfield now. A little bit more licence for City's top scorer Ilkay Gundogan to push forward than he's had previously. Fernandinho finding Walker. Walker 10 yards in from the right-hand touchline, goes into the feet of Ilkay Gundogan. Walker working it back again for Foden. Foden clipping it left-footed to Raheem Sterling, who just nudges it down. Zinchenko takes over. He finds Diaz. Foden. Werner was there, caught him off the ball, right in front of the referee. No complaints actually from Foden. Play goes on, and Ben Chilwell will knock it away. High ball forward, a commanding header from John Stones, who is then out of position, and then Fernandinho has a little welcome to the game with his first late challenge of the night. Here's Werner. Werner has it on the Chelsea left-hand side. Pulisic ready to come on, and he will be on the next break in play. Christensen letting the ball run across his body. Jesus hoping to make that an error, and in the end the ball goes straight into one of the pitch side microphones and out of play for a throw. And Fernandinho is just spoken to by the Spanish referee. Nothing more than that after his late challenge. He did catch Jorginho just a little bit high on the top of the right boot after Jorginho had played the pass. 20 gone second half. It's Manchester City 0, Chelsea 1.
I've just been watching for the last minute or so Jorginho and Kante. They're incredible, honestly. The energy they got to get across the pitch, they're up to people on their eye line, they're checking their shoulder to stop passing lines. Incredible. And that's been the difference between the two teams in many ways. Chelsea haven't been exposed hardly at all, certainly through the middle, because of those two.
Very good point. And when City then have tried to find ways maybe in the wider areas, up to now Chelsea have looked extremely well organised. They are so expertly drilled when they don't have the ball.
And they need to be now, because Gundogan has it. Chelsea have made the change. It's Werner that came off. Pulisic on for him, and Conte again is in there. The referee, as Conte gets it away, penalises an earlier challenge by James, and it's a free kick which will be taken by Manchester City just inside the Chelsea half, and we're nearly midway through this second half. Manchester City needing a goal, trailing 1-0 to the Kai Havertz strike. Kevin De Bruyne made his way down the tunnel initially, and now sitting with a bag of ice, a compress being applied to his left eye. It looks as though the swelling is already beginning to abate, and the tears have left his face. City 0, Chelsea 1, 67 on the clock. Free kick to be taken on the Manchester City left, swung in by Zinchenko. Stones came to meet it. It was Diaz that was the closer to it actually, and it goes out of play for a throw, which is going to be taken on the Manchester City right.
I think Chelsea will be delighted with the way this second half's gone. I can't remember even a semi-effort that City have got, or a skirmish in the box, if I'm being honest.
I don't think Mendy's had a save to make.
No.
And also we haven't seen so much of a threat from Chelsea. Their mindset is now, we keep our shape, we trust what we do, and we're not going to allow City a way back into this game. It's almost as if Chelsea feel they have enough. Yes, if they can counter very quickly through Pulisic and co. They might be able to hang on.
Here's Phil Foden though, making his way forward for Manchester City. It's Mahrez, first time ball inside the area, and that's brilliant defending from Azpilicueta. If he doesn't get to that, Sterling taps it in, but he did get to it with his weaker left foot, and he sliced it over his own bar deliberately and out of play for a corner.
Wow.
Brilliant defending.
Lovely football that, really good. City on the attack again, short corner taken.
And then lost by Mahrez, who tripped over the ball. Walker, I beg your pardon, tripped over the ball, and he's won it back almost immediately from Pulisic, who tried to break quickly but couldn't do so. But that was Manchester City's best move of the game. And going back to the point that Stuart was making, they haven't had a shot on target in the second half. Chelsea haven't had a shot on target at all in the second half, but they can carry on defending like this. They don't need to have one. Azpilicueta has been caught here, and he's the latest player to go down needing treatment. It's his left knee that is hurt. We've got 21 to go, and Chelsea still lead 1-0 on TalkSport.
It is, but once again it was a numbers game, wasn't it? City have had to go past 3, 4, 5 tackles and half tackles before they got the ball across the box, and then there was still another player there to get a recovery challenge, and it's sheerly a numbers game. At the other end of the pitch, City wouldn't have had those numbers to deal with that.
It's the first time, Jim, second half, where we've seen City play a ball into that area just in behind Jorginho and N'Golo Kante to Phil Foden, where he's been able to get the ball, ride that first challenge, and then start to try and gain some ground and penetrate. First time they've done it in the second period, but they just couldn't find that final pass. Very close.
Thomas Tuchel in conversation with Arno Mikkels and Jean Löw, his assistants, just assessing whether any fine-tuning needs to be undertaken, what they will do if Azpilicueta can't continue, if this problem for his knee is a significant one. Manchester City still looking for a way of being able to mastermind a way back into this game. 1-0 down.
We were just saying about the areas that City like to get in that dead ball line. Once with Walker, once with Mahrez just then. Apart from that, they failed to get to those areas that they like to exploit.
Azpilicueta's okay. He's received his treatment. He's back on. Manchester City on the front foot, working out towards Sterling. Couldn't control it with his first touch. He can with his second. And he's pulling James's shorts. A little bit of pulling going the other way as well. And the referee allows it to continue. James did well. He's had a fine game. Gets it away. Fernandinho winning it back though for Manchester City. Chipped over the top. James is there. Heads it away from Jesus. Azpilicueta then clears Zinchenko's ball inside the penalty area. And it goes out for a throw that will be taken on the City left, midway inside the Chelsea half. Chelsea less than 20 minutes away. Competition that they won in 2012. Are they going to win it again 9 years later? Here's Jesus. Stones. Walker from distance checks, turns back inside Jorginho, works it wide for Mahrez. Mahrez hoping to get back inside, gets it in with his left foot, but didn't have the elevation as he looked for Gundogan. And Christensen, who was a first half substitute for Silva, is there to get it away with a diving header. Right, but both teams have lost players to injury. And we've got 20% of normal time to go. 18 minutes left. 1-0 Chelsea. Jesus making his way forward here for Manchester City. Zinchenko checks back. Sterling had made an early run. Foden and Gundogan now take it in turns to try to be the most advanced player to try and get round the back of Gabriel Jesus even. Jesus who's being passed from Azpilicueta to Christensen. City's advanced midfielders trying to get a run at Rudiger. Azpilicueta is in there to knock it away. Conte again has won it cleanly. City have a player down hurt. I think it's Gundogan. He's going to get back to his feet okay though. Conte now play forward again, and an opportunity for Havertz to make his way forward. He's got 2 City players around. He's trying to thread it in. He's played in, and why? What a chance for Pulisic. Ederson was off his line, but Pulisic had a glorious opportunity there. Flicked it past the goalkeeper, and it rolled agonisingly wide. And how significant a moment could that prove to be? Because 2-0 Chelsea there, and they're European champions.
First time second half that Chelsea have had that chance to really penetrate. John Stones it was who had the decision to either go and nail it in front of him or back off. He chose to back off, and it allowed Havertz to run at him, find Pulisic, who dinks it over the goalkeeper. We're all expecting it to just nestle in the corner. It's agonisingly wide.
As you said there, Andy, John Stones has got to go and deal with that situation. He hasn't done. He looked very, very shaky again.
Here's Foden. Manchester City surviving a very nervy moment. Chelsea unable to put him to bed. Jesus now, right-hand side of the penalty area, checks back, good strength to hold off Rudiger. Foden's left-footed ball inside the penalty area, and Azpilicueta heads it away. Ball back down by Foden, outside the penalty area. Christian Pulisic, the first American ever to play in a Champions League final, and he should have been the first American to score in one. 17 minutes to go. Manchester City on the front foot, still yet to have their first attempt of the second half on target. Fernandinho in the midfield, played out towards the left-hand side. City and Chelsea both have 3 changes left at their disposal, but they have to make a triple change if they're going to bring all 3 on. Sterling getting the byline here, flicked in by Jesus. Mahrez was waiting, and that time the covering was from Chilwell, so alert to shuffle across from left back and get there in the middle, cover his centre halves, get there ahead of Mahrez to knock it away.
Once again, Sterling's movement in behind James just caught James napping again, and you can't do that. If he does it for the 3rd time, the ball will end up in the back of the net.
16 minutes to go.
That was the first time, Jim, there, second half. I think actually first time since Kyle Walker in the first half that City have got right to the byline, in behind that Chelsea back line. Once you start turning defenders round, that's when they're vulnerable. Most of the game, Chelsea's defenders have had everything in front of them. If City can keep turning them round, they're asking them a bigger question.
Jesus finding Mahrez. Mahrez trying to check away from Chilwell, actually turned into trouble rather than away from it. Chilwell stood his ground and cleared it. And City will make their final change in a moment. And it's going to be Aguero that will come on, and that will be the 3rd juncture within playing time that they've made a change, so they won't be able to make any more until extra time if they can get it that far. 15 minutes of normal time remain, probably 5 minutes to be added on, I guess, already in terms of stoppages. Could end up being more than that, but is the script ready and written for Sergio Aguero? Man, he's achieved so much as a Manchester City player, and scored so many important goals, and whilst 93-20 will never be forgotten, has he got an even bigger one up his sleeve here? Conte coming in off that right flank, goes back for Jorginho into the feet of Mason Mount. Mount, little give and go with Pulisic, gets the ball back and drags it well wide, and out of play for a goal kick, and City will make the change, and here he comes, Sergio Aguero, for his 390th and final Manchester City appearance. A man who has scored 82 goals more than anybody else in the history of the club. A man who scored a couple against Chelsea on his last Champions League appearance against them, which was back in 2009 when he was an Atletico Madrid player. 13 goals in 20 games against City. Missed the penalty against them 3 weeks ago. But can he make an impression here? Can he bow out with a winner's medal? Can he be the man that will turn this Manchester City's way? He's on for Sterling with 14 minutes of normal time remaining. Chelsea lead it 1-0 with Kai Havertz's first half goal. Walker is in possession here for Manchester City and finds John Stones. Stones is inside the centre circle. Now from him to Ruben Dias and back to Stones again. So much of the play concentrated in Chelsea's half of the field, and they're not fazed by that. Not fazed at all. Defensively so well organised and disciplined. Walker trying to get round Ben Chilwell, and that's gone out of play for a corner, which is only Manchester City's 2nd of the game, and it comes with 13 minutes to go.
Yeah, and I think it's natural for Chelsea, as when you start to see the clock ticking down like this, you just naturally drop back 5-10 yards. It's human nature, particularly with so much at stake. So it's going to invite City on. Have a corner here.
It's going to be a left-footed in-swinger from Mahrez. Addresses the ball, left-footed in towards the near post. And it's another poor delivery. Havertz could knock it away. Back in from Mahrez again. Better shape on that one. Good header from Rudiger there, just ahead of Gundogan. Is he going to be losing a 2nd Champions League final in his career? Fernandinho will bring it forward now. The former Shakhtar man out to the Manchester City left. Well, it's laid back by Jesus to Foden. Jesus then makes his way into the middle. Diaz and Stones, the two centre-halves, retreat with Manchester City in easy possession. Fernandinho has the ball at his feet. 12 minutes of normal time remains, Stuart.
I'll tell you what Chelsea have done. They've not just backed off, they're very, very compact. There's so little room for City to play through their lines. They've got to go on the outside, and they've got to try and get numbers on the outside and overload it.
And they try to play a long diagonal out towards the flank to utilise the full width of the pitch there, and he was overhit and goes out of play for a throw, and Chelsea are going to make their final change. And here's a good man to be able to bring on in this situation. Another spoiler. Again, a compliment rather than an insult. Mateo Kovacic is being ready.
Yeah, again, he'll come on and he's got great energy, Kovacic. He can really get around the field. And he's played at top clubs, and he knows what's at stake here. And so, again, I think you're bringing on a vastly experienced player with great energy levels. That's what's important for Chelsea now. When you have a league as fragile as this, you need lots of energy.
Ball's gone out of play after good work from Chilwell, and it's deflected out. And Kevin De Bruyne again just making his way down the steps into the dressing room. And Chelsea will make their change, and Mount is coming off, and Kovacic on to replace him. Kovacic, who was the substitute as Real Madrid beat Manchester City in the semi-finals in 2016, arguably the most painful Champions League defeat they've suffered prior to tonight, certainly the latest one in the competition. Kovacic sat on the bench in 2017 and 18 in the finals, didn't get on in either of them, but he is on here with 11 minutes of normal time to go. Kovacic for Mount, Chelsea's final change of the regulation 90 minutes. High fives all around as he makes his way down the line of Chelsea substitutes. 10 minutes to go. You're with Talk Sport. It's Manchester City against Chelsea in the Champions League final with McDonald's McDelivery, or the McDelivery now on the Uber Eats or Just Eat app. We deliver. Chelsea have it with N'Golo Kanté. Back to Reece James, James to Azpilicueta, quickly turning the ball away under pressure. Kovacic helping it on. Kanté out wide and then back in towards Kovacic and cleared, and then it's a throw to Manchester City. Jesus thought it should be a free kick, but it is their throw on the left-hand touchline. 10 to go, 1-0 Chelsea.
Yeah, I think if Chelsea come out on victors in this game, it's because they've won the midfield area. That area just in front of Chelsea's back line. They've dominated that. The pair of Kanté and Jorginho have been absolutely outstanding, and that's the area City love to exploit.
James to take the throw for Chelsea. Last touch came off Jesus. James clipping it forward, headed on intelligently. Havertz working it to his left for Chilwell, who had to scamper after it and has done well to keep it in, and then he's gone down under slight contact from Walker, but it's a free kick to Chelsea in a really good position in the kind of territory that they'll believe they can exploit to put this game out of Manchester City's sight.
Yeah, I think Chelsea at the moment have got no intention of attempting to score a goal. All they're trying to do really is keep possession in the opposition's final third, and rightly so. They, why over egg your players, put too many up front, because that just suits City.
James standing over this free kick. Chilwell 2 in a Manchester City wall, which isn't quite where Ederson wants it to be. Everybody else back. Chilwell just motioning with his right hand, exactly the movement that he wants to see. Christensen, who's never scored a goal for Chelsea, is in there to attack it. Swept inside the area, headed away by the City centre halves, out towards the edge of the box and volleyed well wide by Jorginho. This is a game that has a feel of so many Champions League ties that have preceded it for Chelsea this season. Atletico Madrid at home, Porto away, Real Madrid at home. All games where Chelsea got a breakthrough in the first half. They sat back, they did precious little with the ball in the second half because they didn't have to, and then scored a second, picked off the opposition late on the counter-attack, 1-2-0. They haven't done that part of it yet, but everything else has gone exactly the same way.
It's such a fantastic quality and skill to have in your team. If you have the confidence that when you score, you think you can deny the opposition and keep clean sheets yourself, it's amazing how far that can take you. When Tuchel took over from Frank Lampard, the big question everyone was asking was, how's he going to get the best out of those new players, the front line? What he's done, he's got the back line so razor tight, so sharp defensively is this Chelsea team, that it affords Chelsea to not necessarily have the most prolific of forward players, but they're just so good, and their shape is so... It's so organised, it's a real compliment to them. I can't tell you how hard that is to have. It's not easy to get that sorted out.
Well, Chelsea have a free kick here after Fernandinho clattered through Rudiger. Have only been 2 games since the middle of December in which Manchester City have failed to score. Manchester United at home and that FA Cup semi-final against Chelsea. They lost that one 1-0. They trail this one 1-0 with 6.5 minutes of normal time to go. I reckon at least 5 minutes of added time. So probably 11, 12 minutes worth of playing time for Chelsea to hang on to protect the lead given to them by Kai Havertz.
Jim, I'm thinking right now, Stuart, can City create just one outstanding opportunity? They haven't been able to do it for 83 minutes, really. Can they create one outstanding chance in what's left of this game?
On what I'm seeing at the moment, Andy, the answer's no. But you know football as well as I do, and quite often when you're throwing everything at it, a chance does develop.
Still, only the 1 shot on target from Manchester City. Only the 5 shots all told in 84 minutes. Chance here though, left-footed ball clipped inside the box. It's a great take from Mendy as they swung a diagonal inside the penalty area, and it was worked back in. They just didn't quite have the elevation to get the ball over Mendy where 2 were waiting in the middle. It was Aguero that tried to definitely flick it in, and Mendy, who is a tall goalkeeper, needed his full height there just to be able to get his hands up above his head and stop it finding Foden.
Just wondered for a second whether Aguero could have hit that with his left foot. He's just got the wrong side of Reece James, who got caught under the ball.
Yeah, Reece has just been caught on a couple of occasions now. It's the 3rd time in the game that he's been caught. On other days the ball ends up in your net at least once.
5 to go. It's Aguero playing it forward. Clearest opportunity for the second goal in the game fell Pulisic's way, and he knocked it wide. Here's Gundogan. 85 on the clock on TalkSport. Manchester City 0, Chelsea 1. Walker, long right-footed diagonal from him, and it's just too much for the 2 players coming in. Foden sliding in by the byline, and Aguero, who just couldn't quite get there on the edge of the 6.
What a ball that was from Kyle Walker. He's pinged that 40-odd yards there, Stuart, hasn't he, and nearly dropped it on a sixpence for Aguero.
Yes, it was a sensational ball in a good area, but just probably a yard or 2 short of that, and I've got to give Azpilicueta credit. He was in the right slot. I think if it was a touch shorter, he would have been the one to get first contact.
City 0, Chelsea 1, 4 to go. Fernandinho inside the centre circle. Fernandinho going straight, right-footed ball clipped over the top. It's nodded down. Aguero trying to get in there. Christensen with the touches, flicked it into Aguero. It's out of play for a goal kick.
For all City's good football, it's been diagonal balls that they've decided late on in the game to try and just put it over that slot of James and Azpilicueta that has asked the odd question now.
I think what we have seen, look, and of course Chelsea with a 1-goal lead are going to sit back and get numbers back behind the balls. We're seeing pictures of Tuchel urging the fans to get behind his team to try and lift them over the line. But what we have seen from City is a better looking shape with that Fernandinho player, that central midfield defensive minded player sat in front of their back line. They look better for it, City. There's more room for their ball players for me to flourish.
Is it going to be a day where Manchester City's team selection is going to be the main source of debate? All depends on what happens, I guess, in the next few minutes or so. As the fellas are saying, Thomas Tuchel conducting the mass rank choir of the West London Philharmonic, who made their way down towards Porto, and just urging that little bit of extra vocal support just to try and get his team over the lines. Another foul and another free kick and a yellow card for Gabi Jesus for the challenge, which will give Chelsea a set piece that they'll be in no hurry to take.
Yeah, as we're saying, I think from Chelsea's point of view, they'll be absolutely delighted with their tactical approach, and when City decode this at the end of it, it's been a poor defensive shape that's cost them the goal, and very, very expensive defensive mistake as well.
Kai Havertz, the player who was fouled, and he's the man that has bloodied Manchester City's noses at the moment. City 0, Chelsea 1 in the 89th minute of the game. Manchester City get it away. Rudiger backpedaling, heads it away from inside his own own half of the centre circle, and then gets it played straight back to him by Walker. Rudiger looking long. Havertz will chase it, will be able to keep it in down by the dead ball line. He's got support. The forward Pulisic, and then Conte's made an excellent uncharted run forward. That's created space for Jorginho and behind him. Kovacic now down for Ben Chilwell. Chilwell on the edge of the penalty area, slipping it down the left-hand side of the box where Pulisic's made a good run for him. Back from Chilwell again. Chilwell into the feet of Jorginho. Pulisic trying to get round the first challenge and the second. Finds Chilwell, and Jesus is pushed into the ground. No foul. And Jesus can bring it away, and then he is fouled. That is a free kick which will be taken on the right-hand touchline. By the time City take it, they'll be in the 90th minute. They're leaving it very, very late. Manchester City 0, Chelsea 1. Ederson taking the free kick as the clock ticks into minute 90. 1-0 Chelsea. And they're getting ever closer. City bringing it forward, in off the left-hand touchline with Foden. Foden back for Zinchenko, now down towards Walker. Walker is rolling it forward towards the edge of the penalty area. Jesus with a neat little turn. Gundogan's got everything ahead of him. Chance to whip it in, left-footed, across the edge of the 6-yard box. Chilwell's missed his kick. Mahrez, Foden tries to get in there. Christensen got in the way and was able to effect the block. Chelsea living on their nerves for the first time for a while. And Phil Foden almost on the end of it. That will encourage Manchester City supporters. We'll find out very shortly how many extra minutes are going to be added. Carlos Grande, the fourth official, has the numbers ball in his hand, and he's just about to raise it to the heavens, and it is 7 minutes.
That's 7 long minutes, that is, if you're a Chelsea player. That really is, because City are throwing everything at them now.
Wasn't expecting 7. Here's Gundogan. Gundogan trying to flick it forward. Conte can knock it away, and then Jorginho slices it clear. That's a very rare mistake from a man in royal blue tonight. City 0, Chelsea 1. 6.5 minutes of stoppage time for Manchester City to take it to extra time. Ball is played forward. Foden back for Mahrez. Mahrez trying to get it onto his left foot. Conte is in there, flicks out of foot and gets it clear. Pulisic now with an opportunity to try and run at John Stones. Passes it on to Kai Havertz, who comes back inside and just had his ankles tapped. And that will do Chelsea nicely, because it's an opportunity to get a couple of bodies upfield just to run a few seconds off the clock and just disrupt the flow of the game. So free kick to Chelsea with 6 minutes of stoppage time to go, and that's all that separates them from winning the Champions League.
Yeah, Jorginho looks out on his legs at the moment. Fortunately for him, Kante looks as though he could run a marathon now.
And here is Conte, who's putting in the distance for the pair of them. Jorginho slides in again. They can't make any more changes because they've made changes at 3 separate intervals within the playing time. Both sides have, so there can't be any more changes in personnel now. 5.5 to go in stoppage time. Walker bringing it forward here for Manchester City. Coming in off the right flank, and Jorginho with intricate and ornate fall is back on his feet.
Yeah, he's trying to make the most of that. Chelsea just want to break the game up, Jim, as much as they can. They just want the whistle to blow so as they can reset, get their shape back, but City aren't going to let them.
Zinchenko's long crossfield ball, finding Mahrez. Mahrez helps it inside the box. Christensen heads it away. If you're a Manchester City fan, you will feel that there's no way an equaliser is coming. If you're a Chelsea fan, it will feel like constant Manchester City possession and pressure inside the area. Guardiola, clad all in black, comes to the edge of the technical area. Walker hurling a long throw inside the box. Stones is up there and might yet break for him. Chilwell makes sure he doesn't, and he digs it clear. There's no Chelsea player upfield, so Ederson will mop up on the halfway line here for Manchester City. 4.5 to go. Ederson's long ball into the Chelsea penalty area, headed away by Kovacic, brought down by Walker. Walker 20 yards outside the box. His ball in, just a little bit too low and flat, and Conte, who has been dynamic and irrepressible, can get it away. Zinchenko's ball at the left-hand touchline. James keeps it in. Conte can bring it forward again. Fernandinho comes back and fouls it. Free kick, won by a man who may well end up being the man of the match. He has been sensational again. Conte's been Conte. You can pay him no higher a compliment than that. Free kick, which will be taken by Chelsea about 5 yards inside the City half.
Yeah, Conte has been astonishing. He really has. Because Chelsea, pretty much to a man, are out on their feet. But he just keeps going. He just keeps getting a foot in. He was the one there that just managed to pinch the ball, break forward, draw that foul from Fernandinho to give everybody a breather. And Chelsea have a free kick inside City territory.
Azpilicueta takes it. Well, now City have a free kick of their own as Havertz fouled his man as they jumped up for it. Havertz trying to stop the free kick being taken quickly. More than happy to take a yellow card if Ederson smacks it into him. He's now being told to vacate the scene by the referee, which he does slowly. But when Ederson strikes the ball, we've now only got 3 minutes of stoppage time to go. Into the 5th of the 7th. Gundogan heading it forward. Here's Gabriel Jesus on the Manchester City right. Right-hand side of the penalty area, trying to get it across, off Chilwell, out of play. Another chance for Walker to arch the back and launch a long throw inside the box.
It's amazing. Even Manchester City, who play short, when push comes to shove, it's long throws, it's diagonal balls, it's seconds.
And it's a free kick against them. Rudiger has gone down holding his head. John Stones was the player that collided with him. He turns to the referee and very obviously says, "What's that for?" Well, the referee saw a collision in there. Stones going up for it. Just seemed to stand his ground and jump up for it. And Rudiger found himself sandwiched between Stones and Diaz, and the free kick has gone Chelsea's way, and we've only got 2 minutes left. And it is Manchester City 0, Chelsea 1 on Talk Sport, and the expressions on those Manchester City faces are ones of resignation now.
Yep. It's starting to feel, and nothing has dropped for City when they've pushed and pressed and thrown stuff into the box. Nothing has dropped kindly for them. It's just looking like Chelsea are going to get over the line.
Ball swung out of play. Throw to Chelsea. It was Ederson trying to punt it forward, looking for Walker or Mahrez. Only found touch. And there's only 90 seconds to go. Throw forward from Chilwell. Pulisic going up for it. Jorginho wins it. City looking for the seconds, might be able to get there. Jesus taking it on inside the penalty area, forced away by Chilwell. Oh, it's a great turn back in. Christensen stood his ground. He clears it, and Kyle Walker gets ready again. Another opportunity to launch one inside the penalty area. Just goes to the extra yard on the run at this time. Spins the ball on his palm of his right hand. Hurls it inside the area. All about the first contact. Missed by everybody. Second contact. Mahrez! Oh! It's whistled over the bar by inches. And that surely is Manchester City's last opportunity. Long throw inside the area. Bounce once, bounce twice. Mahrez wrapped his right foot around it. Mendy stood, looked, turned, nervously, prayed, and those prayers were answered as it cleared the junction of post and bar by about 4 inches.
They say that time stands still at times. That was one of those occasions. Every player on the pitch stopped, we stopped, and it just sailed over.
20 seconds to go. Zinchenko to take a throw. Assistant referee drops his flag. Looked like a foul throw. Play goes on. Zinchenko back for Ederson. It's now or never for Manchester City in their first ever Champions League final. Ederson with a long ball forward which was going wide, and that's the last touch of the game. Chelsea have defied the odds and the predictions. They've defied the Premier League table. They've defied Pep Guardiola. They have won the Champions League. Chelsea kings of Europe again, as they were back in 2012. No dramatic penalty shootout needed this time. They've got the job done in 90 minutes. The platform of a Kai Havertz goal, and resolute, resilient, magnificent defending from one and all. It's got them over the line 4 months ago. This, entirely inconceivable. But they've made a change at the helm. It's brought a change of fortunes. It has made them the champions of Europe. There is no fairy tale ending for Kun Aguero, for Fernandinho. There is no fairy tale for Pep Guardiola. The script seemed to be written that this time City, in their first ever Champions League final, will be able to get over the line, but still they wait, because it is their Premier League rivals Chelsea that have denied them, and denied them superbly. One goal enough. One goal from a man who Chelsea fans haven't really taken to, hasn't really lived up to the billing, hasn't really fulfilled the price tag, but he has written his name indelibly in Chelsea history. Kai Havertz on 42 minutes in Porto, the only goal that was necessary. Manchester City 0, Chelsea 1, and Chelsea have won the 2021 Champions League.